I'm Renee Rochelle, the founder and president of One True Match. I'm here to help you find and cultivate the love of your life. For over a decade, I've dedicated my life to the importance, purpose, and dynamic of human relationships. My team and I are disciplined by faith, love, and integrity to help our clients find the quality relationship they've always dreamt of. Each week, I will be sharing the tools and tips I've learned that have rooted my success as a matchmaker with other leaders around the world.
Hello, loves. Welcome back. I am so excited to be sitting here in our new chairs because, let's be honest, I love the couch and I'm all about couch talk. I really, really, really am. But part of couch talk is the idea of couch talking, which is just having one-on-one, face-to-face time together. Yeah. So we're also excited.
And being on a comfy couch where you're not going to slip off.
Right, which I know.
We joked about it, that we were going to end up on the floor.
Right, so if anybody watched our last several podcasts, everybody starts to slide and slip off the couch. So that's a great couch, but maybe not long-term wise. And we do have some episodes of other things coming up with our courses and other things that are going to be back on the couch too. But we are excited because these are like velvet. I wish you could be here to sit on the on the chair with us and just dive into conversation and just have like couch talk, talk that we're doing.
Yeah.
So
at least we'll stay on the chairs.
Yeah, we can't move. We're like Velcro on these chairs, which is awesome. So anyways, welcome. We're so excited you're here to have another chat. And what we're going to talk about today is something that's just trending all over social media and on Twitter, of, what basically not to do on a first date.
Yeah. No-goes on a first date.
No-goes on a first date, which I just love that, right? So we're just going to kind of dive into, and then we're going to probably ad-lib a little bit and throw in some other things because we get this all the time. We are constantly
people are sending
doing
us
feedback.
this saying, oh, this is going viral on social media. You guys have not said anything about it. So we're like, okay, let's dig into it. So this is why we have our little piece of paper in front of us.
Right.
And I probably should stop waving it around as well.
I know. So we actually we have sheets in front of us because at the end of the day, we're going to read through this list. We're going to add a few more things. And it's just the small littlest reminders, I feel like, that sometimes we don't really think about. So part of this is comical. Part of it is actually serious. But hopefully you find all of these podcasts beneficial and you walk away with a nugget of some information that only helps you to set you up for success.
Yeah. 100%.
So, like we always talk about, your first date is definitely, it's got to be, it is like a job interview. You're going to bring your best look, right? You're going to bring your best.
Don't dress like you're going completely on a job interview.
Yeah.
There's always that fine line.
Right. Date to be classy and sexy. That's the best way for a woman, I say, and for a man. Date to be ready, to be tailored, and just put your effort in, of course. So let's go through this list. So here is a list of places women absolutely refuse to go to on a first date. And this went out there to thank all the ladies that contributed to this list because there's 28 places to not no-goes on a first date. So I'll start off and then we'll have Connie kind of add in the end. Some of these are going to be hilarious, and some of these are obviously going to be
and some of them are pretty straightforward, but hey, we're going to go over it because people are clearly asking people on dates here because this list is now going everywhere.
I know. And here's the thing, and we talk about this all the time. You have to date with intention. Mm-hmm. So if you're somebody that has gone to maybe some of these places on a first date, the reality of it is it may just be you're not intentionally getting to know somebody, and instead you're going on first dates more frequently, which start to add up. So maybe we're going to lower dollar places. You kind of want to see where it's going to go. But here's the thing. If you start off in conversation, which is the best medicine to, ingredient to a healthy relationship, and you start having a phone call and you have another phone call, which is talking and communication and talking with intention, then when you're actually going on a date, you're going to bring a little bit more because you already have conversation started. So
yeah, and it's just like Renee just said, if you are trying to go on a more, you're dating more frequently, you're going out, you're trying to, go out there actively dating, and you just said cost effective. There's so many ways that you do not have to spend a bunch of money on a date and still make it super romantic, super cute. You don't have to. These places are just no. But anyway, let you dive into them.
Okay, so here we go. The top 5, they're whatever. I don't know if this is a top 5 or not. Well, it doesn't matter. But anyways, an absolute no from women out there that refuse to go on a first date is going to the Cheesecake Factory Applebee's, Chili's, Chipotle, Olive Garden, and the movies.
Yeah, and so the movies, I will never understand, and maybe this is what I'm just going to prey on now, but the movies, why do people even suggest going to the movies? You can't even talk. It's different if it's like your 6th day and you've shared how much you guys love a movie, or you love, I don't know. I always think of Barbie. Me and Renee went to see Barbie a few weeks ago, so that's why that's the only movie
a bunch of our girlfriends, right?
That's the only movie that pops to my mind. And say you both express that you like it or whatever beforehand. Do not go on a movie on a first date. You can't talk to them. It's awkward. It's dark.
Well, and it's funny. So I just
weird.
did a podcast with my niece, and we did it up in New York. I don't know if you've seen that one or whatever. But anyways, and she said that she does enjoy going to the movies, but that's only after they've had enough conversation. And I said, because I was asking her, because she's 17 or whatever, and it's like, or 17, yeah. And I was like, where do you typically go? Like, and she goes, well, to the movies. And I was like, wait, is that to gauge if you both even like the same movie? Or like, because I said, you can't really talk. And she's like, well, it's kind of a way to figure out if you like that person or not. However, but she did say you start off with conversation before you get there. So I do agree that it's important that you have the same genre of movie choices, right? Connie is famous for falling asleep during a movie. So if
I
she
don't
was
even
ever
like
asked
movies, so I'd
what
be
your
like,
hobbies are, you would fail at that just because if somebody was a big movie buff, like you would not be a compatible long-term match for that, right?
If someone ever would have asked me to go to a date on movies, and I think actually someone did once, I was like, oh, this is not going to work out. I am not a movie girl. I'd fall asleep. Like, just no. I feel like you have to really know someone, and also it just can't be a first date in my eyes. I just think that's absolute no, but that's one I feel very strong with. So whoever contributed that out there on social media to the list, that's clearly a girl from my own heart.
So the movies is good. After definitely, we always say the golden date to get to is date number 7.
Yeah.
But which means you have to get through the first, second, third, fourth, and 5th date to know if you're going to even make it to the 7th date, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Anyways, and then some of the other ones are, I'll let you go, Connie.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, and Chipotle. Why would you go for a bowl on a first? That's just no. Yeah. No. And it's like, no. Yeah. Anyway, the next ones are your house. Don't invite someone to your house on the first date. It's
absolutely. Come on. Like we even say to people that
we live in a social media
have background verified people.
Yeah.
And we even still say, meet somewhere, because you just don't know how it's going to go either. Not that I'm saying you should have the escape car, right? But if you're ever feeling unsafe or uncomfortable, it is so important that you build trust in anybody that you're meeting on a first date.
Yeah.
Before you and I know old school way is to pick that person up, but you can pick them up, or after if it's going really well, then both are going to feel comfortable to jump in the gentleman's car, right?
Yeah.
And drive somewhere and go there together. But definitely always
don't go to people's house.
There.
Yeah.
So don't go to their house.
Any fast food chain, which is, I would just say the obvious. It just doesn't seem that you thought into the date. Buffalo Wild Wings. Why would you go to Wings? Number 1. Wingstop and Red Lobster, and I guess is that 5? Or maybe a buffet.
A buffet. So, I mean, let's be honest. If you're going to a buffet, I mean, you're basically just going up and down to just keep eating. Like, you're trying to get to know somebody, which you should be eating less and talking more. If you're dating with intention. If you just want somebody to go have food with, go with your best friend or go with your family member, right? But if you really want to be in a date,
not the first time.
You have to, like, impress.
And someone's judging everything you do. I know we're not going to judge, but let's be real. That's how first dates go.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want somebody that's healthy and you want somebody that's fit and you want somebody that's going to have a long-lasting life, it's really important, too, that you're not just, like, pounding in food, right? The older we get, we all know the harder it is to lose the weight and keep in shape. So it's really important that you're obviously being, just...
Yeah. And there's, like, wings on there. Like, you can't eat wings and look attractive. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe.
No,
maybe.
And especially if you're wearing white. I mean, what if you get it all over you? That's just a disaster.
No, that's a no-go. And then Red Lobster. Oh, gosh. I feel like here I am bashing these places.
I know. And we're not
like
bashing
fish.
chains. We're not, because I feel like that's what it is. But think outside the box. I mean, so many times people will say to us, well, where should I take this person? Where should we go? And I'm like, go, do your research. Mm-hmm. Make reservation, gentlemen, ahead of time. Make 3 or 4 different reservations. You can always cancel, right? If then all of a sudden they say, oh, I don't like whatever place you chose, right? And
Yeah.
I hear so many times from our women is like, especially, I know the gentlemen, you know, our clients out there that are attracted to like a super successful woman just in general, of like, she's in her lane, she's passionate, she's like doing something right, that she's really like making a difference, and they're so attracted to that. But they also want somebody that's like soft and sweet on the inside, right? And that I have these women that will say to me, I don't want to, at the end of the day, make decisions all day long in my work. And so do men, right? But at the end of the day, they're like, I just want a man to make a decision for me, and I'm okay with whatever it is.
And sometimes too many decisions, too many options.
Choices,
that's what too many choices just makes it hard. Like,
and maybe you do it like, and especially you're, because obviously we don't just talk to singles here. We talk to like like people that are married, dating, engaged, right, too. But it's so important that like every once in a while, maybe like this week, he comes up with, on your date week, right? He comes up with the 3 choices, or you come up with the 3 choices, or whatever. Because I know guys want women to make an effort as well. But I think there's nothing sexier when a man actually takes the lead on that.
Yeah, 100%, and just goes with it. And so I think the first dates, I mean, we're making such a big impression when you go on your first date. It's just like, do something a little special, and even make it creative. Like, do you, and like do what feels right to you, but also make it special. Don't just be like, oh yeah, I really thought about making a reservation at IHOP. I don't know.
That's like, the next one that's coming up, is like IHOP, Denny's, the gym. No.
Not the first date.
On the first date. I am all about, go to the gym together, have like an amazing, right, date too, like being strong together, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, definitely not on the first date. Not at all.
Do not go on the first date. That's just a no-go. It's, again, you go on a first date to get to know one another. Being at the gym, I don't care if you're both gym
fanatics.
Yeah. I know.
What were you going to say, Ken?
I was going to say freak, and that's so rude. So
anyone fanatics. There's gym fanatics for sure.
That's just the word I was thinking of, not actually.
Right,
I mean, I love to go to the gym. Everyone loves to go to the gym. But don't, even if you are like super, super into the gym, don't go. Take them there.
That's for like 3rd, 5th date planning, right? Yeah. And I think the one thing what we're trying to also say with this is like, okay, so if you're somebody like, I don't want to go to these stuffy kind of class, like white table kind of, because you feel like, oh, you know,
maybe you don't fit
then do something like, find a place
like a
where
picnic.
it's like you could either do a picnic or do something where it's like you learn to cook together. Experiences are everything. Like every time we, do introductions, people will say, what are some creative things that you can suggest? And we're like, there's this new like chef's table or something like that in town, or there's this or there's that, and make it into an event, because it's giving you an opportunity to kind of hang out, but also do something together. What's building a memory, which goes that much deeper than so many people. They sit at that like white table, right? Which is important, like, a linen table. And it's like, all you start doing is asking and firing off every single question instead of also being playful together. Yeah, and sometimes that puts too much pressure on people, and that's just not how it works, right? It's not how some people don't feel comfortable in that setting. And if you don't feel, that's also important for men as well. It's like, pick somewhere where you feel important, I was going to say. Right. Important and comfortable. Right. Where you feel like that's your safe space. You can like be you. Because if you go to a restaurant that's like super high end, you've never been in there before, you don't know what to order, it just makes you look lost, do something that makes you feel comfortable too. Well, or I always tell all my ladies, or even gentlemen, right? When you're going to a new place, when you've never been there before, there is nothing better than obviously the internet. And you go and everybody's like, oh, I want to check out the food. I'm like, well, what are people wearing? Find the photos of like, just kind of what's the atmosphere, right? So that you're also dressing to be appropriate in whatever that date is.
Yeah, I mean, if you're all about social media, and like with reels and stuff, that literally majority of restaurants will have like a reel or a
pay
TikTok,
attention to what people are wearing, like the background. What's the vibe? So that you're like in trend of whatever is happening at that place. One of the things they say is absolutely do not take a first date to church. And I would agree with that, even though as, like, Christian-based we are, and we're like, yes, we want to invite them. And this happens a lot of times. And so it's one thing to invite somebody to church. I'm all for that. Like, I mean, I do that all the time. It's anything I can invite somebody. But don't go into it thinking this is going to be a date then. Yes. Go into it just thinking, I want to get to know this person better. Yes. And then, invite them back, and then go do something together that's more of an activity, and then let it grow and see what happens. But I think so many times we see people it's like, oh, they invite them at church or they meet this person at church. Instantly they're thinking, oh, they're single. I'm single. We're going to work out. No, like just because two people are single, it doesn't mean that they have the long-term compatibility to actually work out.
Yeah.
So,
And when you go to church, if you've not gone to that church before, there is room to almost be a little picky of, oh, okay, and we all know this, every church believes in slightly different things, and everyone who goes to different churches do believe in slightly different things.
Right.
So you have to be very careful when you go on a date to a church that you're not then going to disagree or kind of be like, oh, I don't like them because this is what their church says. As we found that.
Right.
We've had, people go and they're like, oh, I'm not sure on their church. So it's something that you have to navigate very lightly and be in constant communication.
Yeah, and have those conversations of where do you go to church and like what are you, because if they're so opposite, then that's just going to turn out to be a disaster, I would say.
Or that you are going to have very open communications of what that looks like to you. So first date in a church is just, it's too sticky. It
is. And then the other thing is too, it's like almost on social media. People are so quick to put in a relationship and then nope, now they're not in a relationship, imminent relationship. And so if you're well respected in your church too, right? Choose the people that you're bringing that will look like a date, because everybody knows that you're probably single in your church, right? So if you're bringing another single person that's the opposite sex of you, everybody instantly is going to assume that you two are together.
Yeah.
So it's so important to like just think these little things through, right? Because it's also, you don't want gossip going on there about like, oh my gosh, they're always bringing somebody new because it didn't work out. Why didn't it work out? Because we didn't think it through before we went on a first date.
Yeah, 100%. There's quite a few things on here that it's even like, even it says, I think here, coffee. Yeah. Oh, underneath it says Starbucks and coffee dates. That's the same thing. Okay, if you're taking them to your local coffee spot, it's like, be careful, because if you take this, like, that's kind of your...
Like, if it doesn't work out.
Well, and you keep going there, like, you've got to be careful on those kind of things. And we don't want to be negative. I mean, we hope everyone meets someone on their first date and there's rainbows and sunshine all on there, but let's be realistic, relationships take work, and we'll say that over and over again. And so you got to be careful where you're taking people.
Yeah, and I want to just preface this because there are times that we're like, okay, meet for coffee or have like, there's a difference between meeting somebody and going on a first date.
Yes.
So, like, there's one thing to say, hey, let's just meet up for coffee. Like, we just met. Like, let's just go get to know each other.
Yeah.
But go in with the intention that this is not a date.
Yes.
Because if that's what you're setting the bar of, this is a date, it's just, you're not bringing your best, self to actually show that you care about somebody more.
Yeah, and coffee, it's like, you're not dressing, like, you don't want to go dressed in your finest outfit to coffee. Then they're going to be like, okay, that's a little much. You don't want to go dressed in your yoga pants, because then it looks like you didn't make an effort. It's just really, again, it's a sticky kind of situation of when you go for coffee, it's more of like, okay, let's go on a breakfast date. Go to if breakfast is your thing and that's the way you go, then make it like an official breakfast, like Sunday morning.
Well, that or it's like, okay, so you go to a nice place, right? And then it's like it's going so well, and nobody, because most people have that date where it's like you don't want to say goodbye, right, to that person, and then it leads into let's go find a coffee place so we can keep talking. Now that is the other end of like, but not right out of the gate to start with that, I feel like.
Again, it's just super tough, and then it's,
Yeah.
Feels
and then
like it goes back and forth.
Another one that women say absolutely no, and they refuse to go on a first date if somebody takes them to an ice cream shop, a family function, again, movie night, which is basically at home, like Netflix, Hulu, and all those other, like, obviously streaming platforms. And anywhere that requires somewhere that requires a long drive, especially on a first date. Like, first of all, you have no idea somebody's driving behaviors. None. And you have no idea if they're like an angry, raging driver or not, right?
Yeah, and it's just going to end up like, it's like, okay, we first get in the car. How do we break the awkwardness here? There's no other distractions. There's nothing to talk about. Okay, they don't like your music playlist. Like, that would be another worst
And
time.
I'm all about eyeball-to-eyeball conversation. If somebody can't stare at you in the eye and have conversation, which you can't, because somebody needs to be looking at the road.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to be looking at the road, and otherwise you'll die. So I think that's just a bad idea to expect on a first date that's going to be. I mean, it's one thing to just, go on a short drive, but I agree. Like, don't drive a 2-hour drive somewhere on like your first date.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%. Although I kind of, like, the only thing I actually disagree with is an ice cream date. I mean, I do feel like it's kind of like coffee, but that could be a good maybe it's more of a meeting instead of a first date, like we said. But I feel like an ice cream date could be cute.
Clearly,
like
you're not one of these women that has put this down of that.
I know, yeah. Well, it's like when you were just talking about your cousin, right? Or your niece?
Mm-hmm. My niece.
Your niece. Like, that's so much cuter than a movie date. Like, go get ice cream. Maybe for, like, a younger generation, like, ice cream. Like, of course not when we're...
Well, or it could be something that you end up on, I feel like,
true.
too. Like, if it's going well, because then it's just playful. I feel like those kind of things are more, like, great end-of-date things to be like, let's go get ice cream. Let's go get coffee, right? Because now you've already realized that you just want to spend more time. I know, sorry. I've been hanging out with family a little bit more, right, at things up in New York. But and then another thing that it says somewhere, we already talked about, bowling.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that can also be kind of a fun date because we're like trying new experiences. But
nightclubs,
again, we didn't write nightclubs, absolutely not. How are you going to talk? A hookah bar, no. How are you going to talk? Usually it's just a different crowd of individuals, right? A bar for just drinks. Yeah,
which you don't want to go for just drinks. You need something in your stomach, otherwise it's going to end up pear-shaped. Like, let's be honest. How many times have we talked about this? There's only, like, you got to know your alcohol limits. If you drink, you got to know your alcohol limits. So do not go on a date just to a bar, because then if it's going really well, and you're not going to not order another cocktail, and then it can end up real messy.
Yes, and we actually just had feedback on this from last week, I think it was. And I'm trying to think if it was one of my clients or if it was one of our teams. But no, it wasn't. It was one of our teams. But anyways, is that they didn't want to go on the stuffy dinner date, which I didn't tell them to go on a stuffy dinner date. I just said, I think that they've had enough conversations. I think they should go to a nice restaurant, right? Yeah. To like get to the next level. But they both said, well, we just wanted to meet at the bar. But the problem is it never took flight off the bar because the reservations were never made. So then it was like, hey, are you hungry? Yeah, I guess I could eat. Are you hungry? Yeah, I guess I could, And so
that's
now
such
they
an
stay
awkward
at the bar.
Conversation too.
So the only part of it that maybe makes it feel like a date is that the gentleman paid for it. But other than that, it's like just casual friends getting together at the bar.
Yeah.
And so that's why we do tell friends. I mean, even if you or our clients, if you do drink or you don't drink, you can get like a virgin whatever, is go to the bar, meet there, have a cocktail or a virgin whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or like a club soda and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And but then after 30 minutes, make sure you have that reservation to be able to then carry on the conversation, change up kind of the atmosphere, and then have more dialogue and
and wherever you are, whether it's really nice restaurant, even not, bars always get rowdy. There's always like, it always gets loud. You kind of have the waitress or the bartender always kind of in and out.
And then people are always just checking everybody out.
I mean, it's a bar. And the vibes.
Right? So I just feel like you're just, I mean, I have ADHD like nobody's business, right? So I always have to position myself if I'm going to be focused. I will make sure that like I'm facing
I didn't even think of that.
Instead of facing out, right? So if you're somebody that's like super distracted, like point yourself into the booth.
Yeah.
Instead of or the wall area, and so that you're not distracted by looking around in a lot of other places or whatever. That's one of my tricks.
No, that's so true. It's funny. Me and Jeremy actually went to dinner like the other day, and it was late, so we just went and sat at the bar. I've never sat at the bar with him in our how many years of our marriage. Never sat at the bar with him, and I'm like, he's trying to talk to me. I'm like, da da da, like all over the place because So definitely don't do that.
Well, especially like us girls when we always go out, right? It's like, well,
you
we'll
like
say if we want quality
else's
time, we can't go out because we're going to be distracted by, especially if we're all sitting up at the bar, right? We're like, oh wait, you might be a great person for our client, and we'll go out to people and things like that.
And the bar is very like socializing. You talk to people next to you. Yeah.
Which again, there's nothing wrong for that, but other than just like 30 minutes in the beginning to kind of like break the ice, but then have that time just quality because you're showing the person they're actually going on a date with that you're interested.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it looks casual, which doesn't really feel like a date, and that's why women are saying this.
Yeah. You never want it to feel casual either.
And then the other two things are, which I know might have some people that might not agree with us, is a sporting event. Again, it's really hard to talk, and you're sitting next to each other,
and
so it's hard to
This,
engage. And I know people might love this, and I mean, I can't tell you how many times it was like, I loved living in Orlando for a little while and going to like the Magic's game, and it was fun because it was so social, right? But that was also because I already knew the person. Yes. It wasn't like the first date. Other than I can see if somebody's like has season tickets or season passes. It's like, hey, it's like an excuse to also invite somebody to feel them out.
Because I think I've had one. I think you'll know who, of course, is they went to a baseball game and they enjoyed it because they both love baseball. It wasn't my kind of first suggestion, but that's what made them both feel comfortable. But it was also minor league, which is a whole different level, I think, than going to like a big sports game too, because it's so much more rowdier again at those big games. So I think this is
I don't know.
That's
questionable. Here's an absolutely no. Do not take your first date to Waffle House. I mean, come on. So for all the women that suggested all of these things, clearly at one point, I am so sorry to hear that you were put on a date that went here, right? Because that's why we came up with the list, right? But it's hilarious when we were kind of going through this. Other than there's a couple gray areas, I feel like, on some of these, right?
So it's always each to their own, right? But if I was a male listening to this, thinking I'm going to plan a date, I would stick to these, because even the gray areas, just let this be your list of red areas.
Right? Exactly.
It's better safe than sorry.
Exactly. And again, there's one thing, always like date with intention. You're better to date less than date too frequently. Yeah. Because then reputations get out. We hear it all the time sometimes, like that person is constantly going out and dating new people. And I agree, single until exclusive, right, in a relationship or even married, right? But at the end of the day, it's so important that you're dating with the intention instead of just dating to date.
Yeah, and you don't want to just go out to all these places, and there's so many other way, and like affordable places, picnics, cute creative ideas. Like Renee said, I know in Jacksonville, that's where we're located, it's Jack's Cooking Studio, and it's really cute. They have them like so every other day. Like they have so many.
Or like so many cities now have like pop-up restaurants or like pop-up little new places that you can find. And so like get on these lists of like newest happenings in your town or your city or whatever, and Google it. And then it's like, it's also cool when a guy has like a trendy new suggestion and a woman's like, yes, let's do that. Because
like
it's not the same Capitol Grill dinner night, right? Or it's not the same like,
I don't love, and I think it even mentions here like just fast food, not fast food, chain in general. So even if it's a nice steakhouse, even if it's a chain, it's just like, how many girls have you taken on this date? Or
right. So and then you know it's a bad thing when you get there and the servers know you really, really, really well. Yeah. Implying as if you've been there a lot with different people.
Yeah. So be very careful where you're taking. Be a little bit more creative, and it's super easy. I mean, we have Google. Like Renee said, the internet is like our best friend. Google, and you'll have plenty of better ideas, or even reach out to us. I know that on social media, sometimes we do like fun places, especially in Jacksonville. We've done a few cities, and
just fun date night ideas, So and most cities pick up the things that we have even around us and are usually even ahead of trends. So absolutely. Please write in. Ask us any questions you have around this. Any other places you're thinking, wait, does this cut the list or not? You can call us because we over, I always say like 15 years of listening to people's hundreds and hundreds of stories. It feels like on a weekly basis, feedback on both sides and everything else. We have a pretty good archive list of things to do and not to do that are successful and not. So we hope obviously that you have found this beneficial and helpful, and we can't wait for our next chat, and we love you all for sharing the ideas to talk about. Have a blessed day. Bye. Bye. It's been another great talk on this episode of One True Talks by Renee Rochelle. I look forward to our next chat. Please write in your questions and comments so I can be sure to talk about whatever it is you want to discuss in our next upcoming episode. Lots of love. God bless. XOXO.